Hello, it's Mr. Cringing at his own videos back at it again with another video. Cringing at the intro once again. I really despise these intros and I really cringe when I listen to them back. But hey, what you gonna do, right? In this video, gonna be discussing blankets as I stated in the previous. So I'm actually sticking to what I said, kind of like a miracle. It's a miracle that I haven't just like completely given up and just gone back to my usual make it as when I want to make. I think I'm just gonna take this a little bit more seriously than usual, which I always say, and then I always go back being lazy and so on and so forth. But a new dawn, it's a new day. So in this video, we will be discussing prank and most specifically the recent rise in prank. Now, Prankit's rising isn't really surprising. It's not really surprising because while Blankets are a really good deck, last format they did top with Hanko Cho piloting the deck with the Exceed variant, and the deck did well. I think it came top 4 in the Extravaganza. Going into that format, that was really hard for Blankets to actually succeed, considering that the meta was more so VW, VFD, and VFD really hit combo decks. A lot of decks that usually would be at the top of the game in such a meta were really hindered because VFD was so consistently made by VW, and VW was a tier 1 deck. So a lot of people just got decentivized to play decks such as Infernobles and so on and so forth. But this meta, it's more variety, and prank kids offer a lot of variety in deck building due to the fact that they have one of the most consistent normal summon engines in the entire game, and this normal summon engine leads to one of the best cards currently against combo decks anyway, Butler. Now, Battle Butler is probably the main reason anyone is playing Prankit, because Battle Butler essentially stops the opponent from setting up a board if timed perfectly against D-Link. A lot of other decks, Battle Butler is essentially a game winner by itself. Battle Butler resolving twice is just a no-brainer against a lot of decks. Against decks like invoked Dogmaticus Shidoldo, it can be a little bit rough, and usually going into the Butler immediately for the Prankist play is not beneficial. Usually they would have to go into Washer, then play a little kind of like a grind game with Washer, and then utilizing its effect to set up for next turn, and then going on and so on and so forth. Now, the D-Link matchup, the Dino matchup, those matchups are really kind of easy for Prank, because Prankits again has Butler, but the Dino matchup is a little bit more trickier. Depending on the Dino matchup, it can be kind of hard going into them, especially for the fact that even if you go first, the opponent can simply have missed, and then you're kind of screwed. And that can be quite a bit of trouble, but there are some good options. And that's mainly because, remember when I said that Prankits were diverse in deck building? This is where it comes into play. Prankits can run a lot anti-meta cards because of the fact that they work off a normal summon engine that activates in the grave. So, let me explain. Prankits can run a lot of floodgates that other combo decks or other control decks really couldn't, because it would kind of limit. They can run cards such as there can be only one, Mystic Mind, Skill Drain. Have a very special interaction with Mystic Mind. Usually if they have the resources to, and they aren't afraid of going into Nibiru, because this is very unsafe into Nibiru, they can go off past Dodo and then go into Powwow and then sit on Bow Wow with an activated Mystic Mind, and then when the opponent summons a monster, they can activate Bow Wow's effect, grab a couple of cards from the graveyard, and then the opponent is stuck under Mystic Mind. This is a very effective lock due to the fact that Prankits can play under Mind exceptionally well, especially when the opponent only has one monster and they can get away with so much, since a normal summon won't be negated by Ash or anything of that sort due to Mind taking effect. Skill Drain doesn't really hurt the deck because of the fact that the fusions can activate the effects by tribute cost. So that means that Butler and Washer can tribute themselves to get the effects, and because of how Skill Drain works, they can't really be negated because Skill Drain only negates on field effects, and they can play under. They can be only one really great because of the fact that they can dodge the restriction. With all these options in their deck building, a lot of people are opting to just run a minimum Prankage engine, which is 3 of every Prankage except Roxy's, and that's understandable. Roxy's is probably the worst Prankage main deck monster, and it is actually bad to draw when there can be only one setup, because Roxy's cannot go into Meow Meow when there can be one is on the board. And speaking of Meow Meow is the only reason this deck is amazing, by the way, because Meow Meow makes this deck into a normal summon machine. In the previous LCS, we saw Dankodo top with Prankage Eldritch, and that deck functions very similar to Synchro Eldritch in that it only needed one normal summon summon monster that is extremely easy to find in the deck, and then he just went off into a really powerful option end board. Although Dankuro didn't really utilize Pandemonium as a fusion option, he utilized Thunder Fusion, and that gave him a little bit of an edge. So there's a lot of applications with Prankits because they are so splashable. Now you could go for a more pure based Prankits option. You could go for a poly build with or exceed, and these are really good, but the exceed variant plays into Nibiru, and if you don't, it plays into Nibiru, but it does protect against Ash and Gamma. The poly build can play past Ash or Nibiru, but it's more win more because you don't actually need them to win. They just offer more in very situational options. Now when I say situational, a lot of people are going to be thinking about how, well, if you play Prank Kids, you lose to Ash, you lose to Ash, you lose to Gamma, you lose to Meister, you lose to quite a lot of hand traps, and that's quite consistent among normal summon engines. But the thing with Prankets is, if the normal summon is negated, they have other options to go into. You can still use Pandemonium, there's a backup, and then go in from Pandemonium if you have another Prankets in hand, and then go into Rocket, and then Rocket to just combo off of, but then you play into Nibiru. But Nibiru being main decked is kind of rare these days. More so you'll see cards like Ash, Gamma, maybe Lancia in the main deck, Troll maybe. These are the kind of cards people are opting for because of the fact that lots of decks can play through Nibiru. Decks such as Dealing, which is quite the main threat in the meta. Even though it's not really as much of a threat as people think, it's kind of like quite a weird conundrum where, because people fear Dealings, they play for it more, but because they play for it more, there's less Dealings. So it's like a circle of just continuous hating on Dealings and then Dealings not appearing. Also, people could just be bored of playing Dealings, and Dealings are kind of hard to pilot. And there are other options such as Aids, Invoke Dogma Shadows, that is way easier to work with and is much, much, much better at setting up a board. Way easier to play, way easier to set up a board, way easier to stop the opponent. So that's it on Pancakes. In conclusion, a really, really great normal summon deck. It's rising because of the fact that there are a plethora of things you can add on to it. Deck building wise, it's extremely diverse, one of the most diverse decks in the format. And with all of that, it becomes easy to see why people are opting for it. You can make it go second build or go first build. You can add a lot of floodgates. You can make it hand trap heavy. You can go polyballs, exceedables, extremely versatile. And I don't think the deck will ever get hit because of the fact that it's not really poly that's doing, like, poly doesn't generate as much advantage. It's just the meta that fits it well. Anyway, I've set up a Twitter page, so if you wanna check that out, the link is down below. And if you like this video, like. If you want more of my content, subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your day. And this is Dude cringing at outros with an outro that he's cringing at.